I was blown away by the visual impact of the film and the way it was put together, and it seemed like, I guess maybe because it came from a graphic artist background or something like that, it was just all the lines. It was just endless amounts of lines and straight up and down lines, and always some sort of interesting pattern either on one side of the screen or the other side of the screen. So thank you. And but what I really want to know is, what the hell happened to James?
He's the guy in the bath. You know, that body in the bath?
Wait a second, that was the guy in the bath?
He's the guy in the bath, wrapped in plastic.
I thought it was a girl.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of people said that. They said, is that a fucking backpacker in there? Did they kill her? No, that's him. That's James.
Definitely killed by Ian Wright.
Yeah, he's, that's him. That's Joshua Payne, the actor. He just looks a bit sort of feminine or something. Killed the son? Yeah, they got him and took him home, and they called up Chase Lee and got her.
Remember when you see James sort of staggering home and then you see the four-wheel drive? He takes him at that point.
He takes him at that point, and he ends up in the bath.
I mean, it seems a little obtuse, but there is a logic. I mean, there's certainly a logic for me, but I think my logic is different to most people's logic. What's sort of going on for me is maybe a little different, but there is a sort of logic.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, we can tell. Well, it's Richard. It's a Brisbane film. It's a Brisbane production.
Yeah, that's my hometown, basically. So we decided to produce it in Brisbane. It was the idea actually was important because we were actually looking for locations that can combine an urban transition into forest, and Brisbane's pretty good for that. It's a pretty big city. It's about 1.5 million people, but it still has a forest quite locally, and all those spectacular kind of locations you saw. So it was a financial decision, and also a decision about the fact that I just happened to live there.
I mean, that's the script, the original script by Shane Krause and Shane Armstrong. They're boys who sort of lived in that environment, and it informed the sort of the geography. But you know, Brisbane is, as you probably know, it's the sort of place where you can be standing in a canal estate with these huge fucking mansions that cost millions of dollars and boats and shit like that, and then you can walk a couple of kilometres inland and be in the middle of nowhere. Like, it's an interesting place. It's hard to do that in cities like Sydney and Melbourne, but Brisbane, quite easy. Yes, in the blue there?
I got a two-part question. The first part was...
Okay, only one cool question per person. Narrow it down to one.
Well, okay, first off, I'll make it. For two lovely suburban Brisbane parents that have a torture chamber in their basement, and I want to know what they named their kid.
John.
John's cool, man. You know, I've never given any. What do you reckon?
Was there a name for the baby? That's a good question. Okay, off the far aisle there, yes.
Hey, I just wanted to say, like, I got sort of a statement but a question. That I think the film is like visually genius, and what my favorite thing is how you made the darkest bright daytime scenes I've ever seen consistently in a film. Like the darkest, creepiest daytime, bright daytime ever. And then my question is related. You said, I think I saw from the credits it was a Viper, which is a digital camera, and I'm wondering, based on the time that you've been shooting, you probably shot films on film, and can you tell me visually, like how it affected you, or how you used the digital, or the limitations of the digital? And it was beautiful.
Thanks, man. Yeah, but Mark Pugh, my friend who shot the film, he's the genius that gave the film its look. He's a wonderful DOP. He mainly works in sort of high-end advertising in like Southeast Asia. But he shot 2 features, and both of them are mine. He shot Red Ball, a film that we shot in early 1997. We shot it on a mini DV camera, the Panasonic EZ1, the first 3-chip camera that they made, like a $3,000 camera. And we delivered it to 35mm then. And for me, the film was at its aesthetic best, projected off 35mm, which is an incredible thing to say for a film shot on a mini DV camera. But Mark is a genius. But yeah, we decided I had to shoot on the Viper because we were shooting digitally, because of maybe scheduling issues and perhaps budget as well. The idea of shooting on 35mm was problematic, but I should also say that I've shot a feature on film and a couple of features digitally, and film is so last century for me. It's like I like the sort of the intimacy and the speed and something that you can work with digital, and the Viper is an incredible camera. It really is. I think it was the only camera that we could get decent imagery, like in broad daylight, in scope. Like that opening shot, that pan. Theoretically, that's like a long take pan with a sort of a wide landscape in scope in broad daylight, which is sort of theoretically a shot that you can't shoot digitally. But I think that's one of the coolest shots in the film. And I don't know if we could have shot. I'm pretty sure we couldn't have made a shot like that on the Genesis or any of the other digital cameras that were around at the time. Even though Mark's shooting a lot of shit on the Red now, and he thinks the Red is pretty good, like as good as the Viper, if not better. But the Viper, we shot in film stream mode, which is the uncompressed sort of outputs direct to hard drive. And I guess the only downside was that we were tethered all the time to a huge sort of hard drive. We had like 100-metre cables and so on, but we were tethered. So the only downside of shooting the Viper was that we couldn't, because I'm one to do this, and Mark operates as well, and we sort of get in there down and dirty. But you couldn't just throw the camera on your shoulder and rush off into the forest, because you had this big P2 S2 or whatever it's called. That was the only sort of downside.
I guess from a producer perspective, it was a really reliable camera.
Incredibly reliable, and
no problems at all with it, really. Just a couple of very minor things.
Yeah, we got it from New Zealand. There was this guy, Nigel Stanford, who was one of these dudes who, young guy, he's maybe 30. He was one of these .com sort of dudes in New Zealand who, spent years like sleeping on people's couches and didn't really have any money, and created he had some website that was like an auction site, and they sold it to eBay or something like that for like $70 million. And like suddenly he had $40 million in the bank. And he's going, I want to make movies, so I'm going to get myself a couple of Vipers and set up a little facility. And so we got the Vipers from those guys at a very good rate. They were really keen to shoot a feature, have their Vipers shoot a feature. So they really gave us they did give us an incredible deal, didn't they?
Yeah, it was an amazing deal, basically. So rubber monkey if you want to buy the camera. So you've got to go to New Zealand to get it.
All right, the Red